Good afternoon, Frugal Fam. It's Connie with Frugal Living on the Ranch. I wanted to get on here today and I'm starting a new series and I want to bring you along with me as I'm doing it. I am going to start a new series on bare bones budgeting. With inflation, the food prices, the gas prices, the energy prices, everything just getting just getting crazy now. I know a lot of you, myself included, are having to really start doing some cutbacks. And I've been down this road before. I've had to do the cutbacks. I've had to do the bare bone budgeting. And I'm having to start it again. As a lot of you know, I'm not working. So kind of flying through my savings right now. So I've got to start really making some more drastic cuts than what I've already been doing. So I decided to start this series and kind of share what I'm doing, because I know there's some of y'all that have not really ever had to do this, and it's definitely different. So today and what I'm doing also is I was going to do it once a week on the series, but I think to get started I'm going to try and do at least 2, possibly 3 in this series this week, and possibly next week, just till everyone can kind of get it figured out what they're doing. Because there's not a lot of time to get this figured out. Things are just getting worse every day. I was at the store today and I just cannot believe the jump in prices. Every time I go, it seems like things have gone up. So anyway, today what we're going to talk about is the mindset. And that is probably one of the hardest parts of the bare bones budgeting, is the mindset. Because if you feel deprived and you are not wanting to do this, it's going to make it so much harder. So what you've got to do, you've got to wrap your head around that this is what's going to happen. And when I've had to do this before, I've made a challenge, made a game out of it, to see just how low I can go and to see how much stuff I can make from scratch and make my own. That used to be, my brothers used to give me a hard time because I'd say, oh yeah, guess what I've learned, what I'm making now? And they'd be like, what now? They just always knew that I was doing something that was kind of different, and a lot of people weren't making their own things. So I am going to start including some of how to make some of your own stuff in this too as we get further into this. But anyway, as I was saying, the mindset. You've got to wrap your head around the fact that you're going to do this. You've got to do it with a joyful heart. And I know that's hard to do and hard to even say it. But if you go in doing this with a bitter heart and feeling like you're just going to be depriving yourself, it's just going to make it 10 times worse. And you're going to be bitter about it. You're not going to be happy. Even though times are hard, you still have to be happy. You have to live life and still have a joyful heart, especially if you have children. You can't let your children see that times are tough. Yeah, they're gonna have to do without a few things too, but make it easy on them. Don't let them see that you're struggling and that you're unhappy, or that, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Just don't let them see that you're really upset about things. They're gonna know, when they're having to do without, they're gonna know that things are kind of tough, and that's okay to let them know to a point, but don't be so bitter about it that it rubs off on them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So the first thing is, like I say, is the mindset. So wrap your head around it, make a game out of it, make it a challenge to see how low you can go. I'm kind of repeating myself, I'm sorry, but and having a plan. That's the biggest thing, is you got to have a plan. You got to know your steps, and there are steps to it to make it easier. And we will be going over the steps, and I'll try to kind of walk y'all through it. And maybe everyone can kind of share ideas on what they're doing and how they're doing it. And we can get through this. This is not a permanent thing. There's been tough times in this country before inflation. I lived through the 70s inflation. It was rough. It was rough. I remember I was still living at home, and I remember at the end of the month, we had no food in the cupboard. We were kind of scrounging to see what we could eat. So I've lived the hard times growing up. I lived through the inflations of that. I've lived through the 80s inflationary times, and I've lived I've been the single parent. I've had some really tough times. So I've done this, and I want to share what I've learned with y'all to help it maybe make it easier. I wish I would have had somewhere to turn way back when to kind of help me through some of this. So that's kind of what I want to do, is to help y'all through some of these tough times, help you get started, and give advice, and cheer you on. So like I said, today is the mindset, and hopefully either tomorrow or Thursday, tomorrow or Wednesday, I can get back on here and we can start on the steps. And because it is a steps, if you do it in steps, it'll make it a little easier. And like I say, make a game out of it. Kind of think tonight about the things that you can do to cut back, and I know most of you are already cutting back and you're already struggling. So we will get through this. We'll get through this together, and I will try to give you as many tips and hints and help along the way that I can. So until tomorrow, y'all have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow.